Today we are going to put your Chapter 5 knowledge to the test using your own data set. So if you don't know how tall you are, over there on the wall is a piece of tape with inch marks. So measure yourself to the nearest ½ inch. You're going to have problems with that hairdo. So you'll measure your height, and then you will write your height in inches. And then, once you know your height, come up on the board, and all males put your heights on the left side, and all females put your heights on the right side. Okay? Then you'll fill them in the box. And we're going to build a standard normal curve using different data for the males and the females. So below the mailbox it says, use the values below to answer each of the questions. Average and SD. How are we going to figure that out? Put it in your calculator, one variable stat, write down the average and the SD. Okay? Now, if you are a male, then take your height and calculate your z-score. So let's say that the average height of males is 68.5, and the SD is, I don't know what it is, maybe it'll be 4 inches. Okay? Well, I am 67 inches tall. So me, 67. What is my z-score? How would I find that? 67 minus 68.5 divided by 4. Value minus average divided by SD. So, let's talk about that. So 67 minus 68.5. And again, I really like to discuss what these numbers mean. If I multiply them, though, that is not going to work. It's supposed to be subtraction. And this says negative 1.5. What does that mean? I'm an inch and a half shorter than average. And I made up the average, so who knows what it's going to be. And then I divide that by 4, and I get negative 0.375. What does that tell me? I'm 3/8 of an SD less than average, and that is actually my z-score, negative 0.375. Now, I can figure out my percentile. How would I do that? I'm going to shade norm, and somebody asked, can you use the yellow paper? Yeah, but it's a lot harder. You got to do a lot more work. So, okay, shade norm. What am I going to shade norm? From negative 5 to negative 0.375, comma 0, comma 1. And this tells me that with my made-up average and my made-up SD, I am the 35th percentile. Which means what? Out of 100 people, I'm taller than 35 of them. Okay? All right. And then, so you'll only need to do one side of that because you're either male or you're female. And then the next question on both sides asks, find the z-score and percentile for each height below. So, we would do the same thing for 74. 74 minus 68.5 divided by 4. Get the z-score, shade norm, find the percentile. Okay, you need to do that for men and for women. And then it asks, who is the 21st percentile? And remember, percentile is always left area. So if I have this area equals 21%, how tall is that person? How do I figure that out? Now I need the yellow paper. Okay? I need to calculate central area. There's no, as far as I know, there's not a way on the calculator to do this. And I shade this side at 21%. So 21 and 21 makes 42, so the center would be 58. Does everybody understand that? I take that 58, I look it up on the yellow paper, and 58 is 0.81. So Z equals what? It's not 0.81, negative 0.81. Why is it negative? Because I'm on the left. So Z is negative 0.81. What does negative 0.81 mean? 0.8 of an SD below average. So any person who is the 21st percentile is 0.81 SDs less than average. And the crazy thing is that is true with every single normal curve, right? I haven't even begun talking about inches. So whenever you are the 21st percentile, that number will always be the same. The only difference is the average and the SD will be different. Okay? So how do I convert this SD back into inches? Times it by the SD. So I multiply this by 4. Negative 0.81 times 4. And that tells me negative 3.24. What does that mean? The person who is in the 21st percentile is 3¼ inches shorter than average. And the average is 68.5. And I get 65.26. So, with my made-up information, if you are 65.26 inches tall, you are in the 21st percentile, which means you are taller than 21 out of 100 people. All right? Okay. And then there's some questions. How many males would we expect to be within one standard deviation? 68%. And so what you do is you look up there and you take 68% of the number of males, right? And then how many males are actually within one standard deviation? How do you find that? Count them up. And they should be close. They're not going to be exact, but they should be close. Okay, turn the page. On this page, we are going to combine our females and our males into one data set. What's going to happen to the averages? It's the average of everybody is probably going to be between the average of the females on the left and the average of the males on the right. Now, that might not be the case. Maybe we have short men and tall women in this class. Megan's not here. So, okay. What's going to happen to the SD? So if I have, let's assume, well, I guess it doesn't matter. There's one and there's the other. When I combine them into one graph, what happens to the SD? It gets bigger. Whether this is males or females, that's really not important. But the red graph is much more spread out. So it will have a larger SD. Probably. That might not happen, depending on who we have in the class. And then you're going to do the same thing. Find the average for everyone, the SD for everyone, and then calculate your z-score according to your height, find your percentile, answer the questions, and then find the z-score and percentile for each height, and then using the percentiles, so find the height, oh, it kind of is printed weird. Find the height for someone in the percentiles listed, and then how many students do you expect to be in that 68% window, and how many are actually there? Okay. All right, let's go to that point. Well, because I'm making this video, I have to explain the rest. So, once we finish that, Our data set is going to be really small. We only have a handful of boys. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 here. So that's not very many, and we have quite a few more females. So what we want is a lot more males and a lot more females. So we will put a new chart up on the board, and everybody, what does it say? 2 other adults in your life, 1 male and 1 female. So everybody will put 2 more scores up, a male and a female, and that way we'll have a whole bunch of males and a whole bunch of females, and that will give us a bigger data set. And then you're going to do histograms. Wait a minute. Maybe I printed the wrong one. I'll have to look. Oh, there we go. There is a last page. And then you are going to answer that last page using the big data set with lots of males and lots of females. Okay, so you'll do the males separately, then you'll do the females separately, and then you'll answer that question for the males and the females put together, and then you will create on the very back page histograms for that data set. All right, get to work.